So can you give me a basic overview of what you've been attempting to do with Kid Creole?
Well, that's a difficult question. What I was attempting to do and what I've done is not necessarily the same thing. I set out to do a band that was very eclectic, an amalgamation of just about every musical force that ever influenced me. And consequently, it became a hodgepodge, a hybrid form of music, and that hybrid form became its own identity, which was a bit difficult to define and categorize, and that in itself became its strongest point and its weakest point. The strongest point for some markets being that some markets loved the fact that it was playing upon reggae, calypso, R&B, soul, funk, Latin, everything. That became exotic and fascinating for some markets. And other markets, such as the American market, of course, looked upon that as something that defied categorization and consequently could not be played in the American easy-to-touch playlists for the radios. So what I set out to do was just that, to create an international sound with an international band, musicians from different walks of life and different nationalities playing music together and creating a new format. This was tried, of course. I'm not the only one to have attempted this. In the early 80s, a lot of bands coming out of England were attempting to mix reggae and calypso into a new format. These bands didn't have much longevity, though, so I feel that we are one of the few bands to have lived past the fad. That's what it was for those other British bands, a fad. We're one of the only bands to have survived and still touting that sort of rainbow mulatto music that we make.
No, it's still a strange, though, because it's such an American.
Yes.
All the different influences you have.
That's
and you
true.
Would think,
it's very American in that it plays upon jazz so much. Jazz intonations, harmony, syncopation, the jazz feel of the big band era is in a lot of the tracks. And it's very, very American in its song format, simple song format, borrowed from the best, Cole Porter and Gershwin and Rodgers and Hammerstein. A simple, happy marriage of music and lyrics, and you would think that it wouldn't be as alien to the American ear as it is. But you need only listen to the radio to hear the certain formatting that they are into these days to realize that it is coming from the left. The music is coming from the left. The accent in my music is a bit perhaps too otherworldly. Though it has the American influences, it does have a lot of South American and Caribbean and third world influence mixed up with it. And perhaps that's the thing that is keeping the American masses from embracing it. Who knows?
What sort of reactions then do you get in Europe? How's the European audience doing?
Oh, the European audience, they embrace it totally. As I said before, they regard it as something exotic. It's odd that Americans making what we call American music can be regarded as exotic, but that's exactly what they regard it as in Europe. And that is how we became so successful overseas, is by taking this outfit, this big band, this American neo-big band, overseas and touring. And the people that saw it were wowed by it, and they found it fascinating that in the time of minimalism, there was a big band, harkening back to the feel of a Duke Ellington or a Cab Calloway or a Tommy Dorsey or the likes of that. They found that exotic. They found that fascinating. And of course, the fact that it was a mixed band, that it was black and white and female and male and Jewish and Catholic and whatever, every division you can imagine, that they found fascinating also. Because, of course, Europe is more given to borders than even America. You can walk 300 miles and be in a different language zone in Europe, So that they found fascinating. And so they caught on to it, and consequently that became the bread and butter, and so it became our playground. Europe became our playground. It became more of a European band than an American band. But we always kept coming back to America, hoping for that hit record to bring us out of obscurity.
Have you tried to tailor any of your music towards a more commercial American audience?
Yes, we tried several times. I think when the record companies were a bit too fed up with the music being too inaccessible, we would consciously try to give them at least one track on the album that they could program that would fit nicely into their dance format. Most of those experiments were unsuccessful, however, and left me very unhappy because I compromised and still didn't achieve the goal I wanted to. So they backfired, and they made me want to compromise less rather than more. But we did have some golden opportunities when we did a song for the Against All Odds movie, My Male Curiosity, which I think got more exposure than anything else because Phil Collins had a very big record off of that score. And of course, his big record meant the record was getting into the homes of a lot of people, and they got turned on to Kid Creole. And of course, the movie, though not a big box office success, was a good video success, home video success, and cable success. So a lot of people got exposed to the band through that. So it was the media, and it was also exposure on Saturday Night Live and some other television shows. But it's been a grueling, laborious movement from 1980 to the present in America.
I would assume you're tired of hearing of it, or talking about it, but this is, you're contemplating that this is your last tour under this guise?
Yeah, we feel that we have run the gamut. We've tried every trick up our sleeves to assault the American consciousness. We also feel that the record company, sire Warner Brothers, has slipped to its lowest support ever since we signed with them. And we are not children. We realize that hit records are not made on talent alone. They're made by a lot of promotional dollars and a lot of executives being behind you. With this new album we put out, I Too Have Seen the Woods, the company has slipped, as I said before, to its lowest ebb of support. Consequently, we cannot go on with that kind of a lack of support from our own label. So we are saying that if we don't do it with this run, with this album, if we don't really bust it wide open and sell a lot of records, it's time to create new platforms, new arenas, and new ways of presenting ourselves.
But you're still going to try and get back into the American market rather than live happily ever after in Europe?
Yeah, we could very easily escape and go to Europe now and live happily. We could do that if we weren't so hungry for that goal that we set for ourselves early in life, which was to be heroes in our homeland. I know that's one of my goals, so consequently I could not just relax and go off into the woods and write screenplays or poetry or whatever. I know that I need the city as much as I try to get away from it. I need the city because its manic energy motivates and inspires me. Consequently, no matter what form or shape Kid Creole and the Coconuts will take in the future, it will still be a pursuit of American success for sure. We will not cry defeat in that area yet.